Hello, everyone. This is another Black Conservative. I am Ryan Boland. Thank you all for joining me. So I just discovered that two Atlanta, Georgia police officers had charges dropped against them in reference to a shooting that they were involved in reference to a gentleman, I'm going to get his name in a minute, who was shot and killed by them. He was in the Wendy's drive-through, and the police had been called on him, and apparently he was doing something that perhaps caused someone to call the police on him, and he resisted arrest. Unfortunately, this is usually what tends to happen. He resisted arrest and he was subsequently shot and killed. So we're going to get right into this article, and I'm going to analyze this article and give my commentary as I go through it. So let's get right into this. So the article starts off with a specially appointed prosecutor dropped charges Tuesday, including murder against Atlanta, Georgia police officers Garrett Rofi and Devon Brosnan, who shot and killed Rayshard Brooks in a June 2020 incident that led to Black Lives Matter riots. Of course it would. Brooks, 27, a black man, had fallen asleep in his vehicle in a Wendy's drive-thru and was questioned by the officers who had been called to the scene. Now, before I read any further here, let me just say right up front, this is an unfortunate incident, and I hate to see people getting shot and killed in any incident, and I hate to see people getting shot and killed by the police. I hate to see that happening. This is an unfortunate situation. My prayers go out to the families of those who have lost this Rayshard Brooks. My prayers go out to them, and I pray that they find solace in this time of bereavement. Nevertheless, getting back to this, it seems to indicate that whatever this young man was doing had to be enough to provoke someone to call the police on him. So let's go on with this article. After speaking with the officers, he resisted arrest and stole an officer's taser. Listen to what he said. He resisted arrest, according to this article, and stole an officer's taser, firing it at them. He stole their taser and he fired it at them. Now, I seen the clip of this, the actual visual clip of it. He stole their taser and fired it at them. Rofi fired at Brooks, who was killed. Right here, you ought to know, based on the information here, that from what I see, it was justified. You somehow this man gets the officer's taser, which seems to suggest to me that they were probably trying to arrest him. He resisted arrest like so many African Americans do, time and time and time and time again. He resisted arrest, somehow stole the officer's taser off of them, I don't know if the officer had the taser in his hand, he grabbed it out of his hand, or he took the taser off of his utility belt, or what. But he stole it from him and fired it at him. Now, why do you think that Mr. Rayshard Brooks fired this taser at him? Was he trying to play games? Was he trying to scare the police officers off? No, he was trying to disable the police officers, because when the taser hits you, and I was never tased. Yes, I attended the police academy, and I graduated with flying colors. I was pepper sprayed or OC sprayed, but I was never tased. But from what I've seen in videos and what I heard, it's very painful and paralyzing. So if you get tased, 9 times out of 10, you're going to go down and you're going to be paralyzed for a few seconds. What do you think Mr. Rayshard Brooks would have done had he tased these officers? He would have took their guns and probably killed them, or took their guns and probably used them to kill or hurt someone else. Come on, man. This is an unfortunate situation that he lost his life, but from what I see here, it's clear that these officers were justified in what they did. But I'm going to give my commentary on this whole thing later on. Let's get into this. The article goes on to say a mob then arrived, and here's the part that gets me, and burned the Wendy's. Why in the heck would you burn the Wendy's? Why would you do that? Did Wendy's do this? Oh my goodness. The article goes on to say Democrats, including failed Georgia gubernatorial, Democrats, including failed Georgia candidate Stacey Abrams, said the shooting was murder. Celebrities such as Justin Timberlake joined in condemning the police. Oh man, shut up. What do you even know? You're going to join in with someone and you don't even have all the facts. People need to get the facts first. Don't just join into something because you feel afraid that if you don't, particularly as a white person, if I don't, and a white celebrity, if I don't, and a lot of these white celebrities do this stuff, I believe, because of out of fear of white guilt. I better do this because I don't want to be condemned as a racist. Man, come on. Stop it. Just stop it. That is not factual. And as far as Stacey Abrams is concerned, I'm not going to even say this here on the video, man. I'm not going to even say this because I got to stay right myself. But there is probably a reason why Stacey Abrams is a failed candidate. It's probably a reason for that. It's probably a reason why Democrats are not voting for her. Has she even thought about that? In spite of the fact that she's unattractive, nobody wants to see you, and the stuff you're pushing is stupid and lame, don't you think that might be a reason why you a failed candidate? But then she calls it murder without even getting all the facts. Let's go on. One of the officer's stepmother was fired from her job. This is terrible. One of the officer's stepmother was fired from her job. Why? Why? The then Fulton County District Attorney said that police officers ought to be indicted without a grand jury investigation. Get this now, without a grand jury investigation. Forget about investigating. Forget about the facts. Forget about any of that. They need to be indicted in spite of all that. Forget about that. These are white police officers. This is a black man. Forget about facts. Let's read on. And the media reported yet another example of alleged racist police brutality. Bull crap. Let's read on. Brooks joined the ranks of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor among the iconic victims of the Black Lives Matter movement. Iconic. And a lot of these people were not iconic. A lot of these people were criminals or either involved with criminals. That's what they were. That's not my opinion. That's a fact. When are African Americans going to separate emotions from facts? But let's go on. I'm going to give you my summation of this. But Special Prosecutor Peter, and I cannot pronounce the last name, declared Tuesday in clearing the officers of any crimes that the shooting had been justified under the circumstances and that both officers had followed the law and department policy. CNN reported, which I find interesting that CNN will report this, both acted as reasonable officers would under the facts and circumstances of the events of that night, Special Prosecutor Peter said. Both acted in accordance with well-established law and were justified in the use of force regarding the situation. Black lives do matter, Peter said. I understand that the encounters between police and the African American community at times are very volatile. But I would ask them, and this is the part I want people to look at here. This is the part that caught my attention when he said this. But I would ask them to look at the facts of this case. And this isn't one of those cases. This is a case in which the officers were willing to give Mr. Brooks every benefit of the doubt. Excuse me. And unfortunately, by his actions, this is what happened. Now, the article goes on to say the Atlanta Journal-Constitution reported Tuesday that lawyers for the Brooks family plan to file civil lawsuits against the officers. Both of the officers are still on the Atlanta police force and will be allowed to resume duties after repeated training. And that's the repeating training. And that's the end of that article right there. But first, I want to say here, I wonder how that's going to pan out for these two police officers who's going to continue their training in the Atlanta police force. I wonder how that's going to pan out with them, with the community, particularly with black people in general. They see them walk. I mean, their lives, I believe, is going to be in danger. It's going to be in danger because they shot in the minds of these black people an innocent black man. But according to the assessments here, this person was not innocent. He was resisting arrest. He took the officer's taser. He shot at them with that. The officers were clearly justified in what they did. What was they going to do? Take out the billy club or the expandable baton? Now, let me say this. I've trained as a police officer. 2005, I graduated in 2006 at Tri-C Police Academy. I trained as a police officer, and when we were doing our self-defense classes, okay, and it was called subject control. When we were doing our subject control, at the time it was called subject control. I don't know what they call it now. We had to have probable cause, whether or not to pull someone over or to shoot or whatever. And many of these scenarios were acted out. We acted out certain scenarios with people that may have had weapons or may not have had weapons. And there was one particular situation. Here's something that a lot of people don't understand. And I know that each state differs. Each state differs in the way police officers are to use deadly force. However, in the state of Ohio and in the city of Cleveland in particular, I remember when I was in the academy, we had the instructors painted a scenario, and the scenario was this. They put out the idea, the reality rather, that the person does not have to have a deadly weapon in order for you to use deadly force. And they did a scenario of that. They had one of the classmates just interviewing someone, pulling someone in and just talking to someone. And they had the person playing a suspect, that the person that is being interviewed. So they told the person to just run up on. This person was like 6 feet away from the classmate, maybe 6 feet away, maybe like 6 to 10 feet away. They said, run at the officer as fast as you can. The person ran at the officer as fast as he can. The officer did not even have time to take their gun out of or anything out of their pocket to use it. Within less than 2 seconds, maybe even a second, that person was on the classmate acting as a police officer. Did not have any gun, did not have a knife, did not have a deadly weapon. But had they got hold of that person, they could have took the gun from him and killed him. You get my point. I know you get my point here. So in the situations like that, they don't have to have any the suspect doesn't have to have a deadly weapon in order for the police officer to use deadly force, at least in most states, or in some states. Let me reiterate that, in some states, particularly in the state of Ohio. Now, that being said, going back to this situation here, the person may not have, Rayshard Brooks may not have had a deadly weapon, but he took the taser from the police officers and used it against them, clearly to injure them and perhaps take their deadly weapons. They had a choice to make, and they made the choice based on probable cause. They were justified based on what I see here. Now, let me end the video on this note. Unfortunately, a vast majority of African Americans have been conditioned by the Democratic politicians to feel like the police officers are out here arbitrarily killing black people because they're black. That is a lie. That is not true. And I had this discussion with an employee on my job several days ago. You had one person that was white. You had one person that was black. One former employee that was white, one former employee that was black. They were former employees on a job that I worked at before I started working at Tower City and Security. And we were talking about this discussion. We had this discussion. And one thing led to another, but I remember saying, I am so sick and tired of people thinking that the police officers are just arbitrarily killing people. That is not true. I said, you may have a small percentage of police officers who do abuse their power. That's both black and white. I've seen it with my own eyes. But 99.9% of the time, these police officers, both black and white, are doing their job right. But the mainstream, sissified, punk mainstream media is portraying these police officers as a bunch of racist, white supremacists out here arbitrarily killing black people simply because they're black. That is a lie. And because black people, African Americans, are listening to this trash, it's getting in their subconscious and they're running with it. And what happens when voting time comes? They vote for the very political party that was the political party that fire-hosed their ancestors in the 1960s civil rights movement. That's what they were. They were Democrats. The very party that you woo for and voting for, it's the very party that tried to kill you. But they keep this in our mind all the time that these white beliefs, it is crazy because the same people that saying is a white. They're white. They're Caucasian. And they're telling you that these Caucasian police officers out here arbitrarily killing you because you are black. So let me get this straight. Why would I believe you, white Democrat politician? Why would I believe you? You white. So I shouldn't believe you, right? I shouldn't believe you because you are racist according to Marxism and according to these professors and according to critical race theory, you are inherently racist. So why would I want to listen to anything that a white Democrat politician has to say, right? I'm just saying. Anyway, this is just foolish, but I'm glad. It's foolish with the way so many people have been brainwashed into this, but I am glad that these two police officers have these charges dropped against them. They were justified in what they're doing. I pray and hope that their lives are protected, that they're not in danger, because I believe their lives are going to be in danger. That's what I believe. And I pray and hope that's not the case. But that's what I wanted to say here, people. I mean, this is going longer than it normally has in my videos, but I really needed to bring that out. What do you guys think about this? Do you think this was right to drop these charges against these two police officers? I 100% believe so. What do you guys think? Leave your comments in the comment section below. Like, share, and subscribe to the channel. God bless you all and see you again.